Good morning, buenos dias, and welcome to Cafecito con ACE. My name is Noel Rodriguez. I'm a program manager here at ACE, overseeing our student programming and coaching corner. I'm currently joining you from sunny Orlando, Florida. Drop in the chat where you're joining us in from. We love to hear and see where our audience is. Before we meet today's guest, I'd love to share more about the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement and some of our upcoming events. For 40 years, ASE's mission has been to positively impact the American workplace by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent. You can join us tomorrow for Avanza Your Career with ASE, where you can learn how to optimize your job search. Our team will share the link to that event right in the chat. Tomorrow, we also have our bi-monthly coaching corner, which is the main topic of today's discussion. There are limited spots, very limited spots still available for coaching this month. So, on the topic of career and executive coaching, I would love to welcome our guest this morning, Leslie Drish. Leslie is the Vice President and Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago. They are a long-standing partner of ASE. We also want to say hello to Cedric at your team, a huge partner of ASE's. Leslie is also one of the featured career coaches during this month's Coaching Corner. Welcome, Leslie. Good to see you.
Great to see you too, Noel. How are you doing?
I am great as I sip on my light and sweet cafe con leche. Leslie, how do you like your cafecito or coffee prepared, or what's your morning beverage?
So I always start off my morning drinking a glass of water because that is extremely important to me. I have to stay hydrated, but I love coffee. I drink coffee Americanos with so that is my coffee of choice.
I love that. That sounds delicious. I also have to plug my water bottle sitting here next to me all day long as well. So, Leslie, can you tell us about your cultural and professional background, maybe your heritage, your identity, and how you got to your career? We'd love to know more.
Yeah, so I've had a very interesting career, but I'll start off by talking about my parents. My mom was Polish and German, and my father was Black. And so I am a biracial person, and a lot of people don't necessarily see that in me when they meet me for the first time. So I've had a very interesting just meeting people from all different types of backgrounds. And a lot of people want to welcome me into their heritage just because I kind of am like a chameleon. But I will say my professional background is really strange. So as you mentioned, I'm the Vice President, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, but I actually started my career teaching high school. So I taught high school English for 8 years at the high school that I graduated from. And then I figured out that I didn't want to grade papers for the rest of my life. And so I had to make a switch. And so I worked at Aquarium because I was like, oh, I could work for a museum. I was a teacher. And so I did that for a couple of years. And I recognized that I didn't like fish as much as I thought I would. So I ended up working for a couple of other nonprofits. So I worked for the Chicago Urban League, which is a civil rights organization. And then I worked for the YMCA of the USA. So I worked for their national office for about 6 years. So when I started at the Y, I did education programs, but then I transitioned into diversity, equity, and inclusion work while I was at the Y. So I did that for a couple of years, was able to travel the country and meet people everywhere. So I met people in little towns like Moultrie, Georgia, and really big cities like Seattle and San Diego. But then I got sick of the traveling because I was traveling about 80% of my time. And so that was a lot. My family. So I decided to take a role with Tyson Foods, and I was their manager of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I was there for a couple of years. And then the bank found me. So I was recruited and I was able to meet Cedric. And so now I am working for the Federal Home Loan Bank. So what I do in my role now is I'm responsible for like all of our DEI partnerships. I teach classes. I help with our recruiting efforts. I help with our supplier diversity program. And I support all of our employee resource groups. So that's just a little bit about my background.
That is an incredible journey. I love major shout out to English teachers. They're my absolute favorite growing up. And as I mentioned, I oversee our student programming. So they're really we love fostering, the youth and developing them. We actually just had a graduation for our university program. So I love to hear that part of your background. At ASE, we like to say we train folks from the classroom to the boardroom. So we're really all about professional development of diverse communities and making sure folks can get themselves to that next level. We obviously know, as you likely do every single day, as you've mentioned, with professional development, that executive and career coaching plays a massive part in that. And it's really a practice that us as leaders have to get into constantly stretching those muscles. So I would love to ask you, what role does executive and career coaching play, or you think it plays in helping professionals from diverse backgrounds be more successful in their careers?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Coaching is extremely important. And so I think when you're thinking about professional development, you want to make sure that you're always curious and that you're doing some lifelong learning. And so you're reading and you're taking classes and those types of things. However, a lot of times when you're thinking about kind of moving in your career, you want to figure out who you can talk to and who can help you um, through some of the actions or the pathways that you can get to where it is that you're trying to go. And so I do know, like for me, I'm always looking to meet with people that are very different from me, because while I have a number of colleagues that are diversity, equity, inclusion practitioners, I also like to talk to people that are part of the business that really makes the money and that makes us, because I want to understand like what they're thinking about, what their challenges are, and then I like to think about how I can help support their efforts. So it's really about kind of stretching yourself and putting yourself into conversations with people where you might be a little bit uncomfortable, where you might not necessarily know exactly what they're talking about. Because I work for a bank now. I was, like you mentioned, I was an English teacher, so half of the stuff people are talking about at the bank, I have no idea what they're talking about. But getting some understanding and learning and understanding what they're trying to do helps me do my job a lot better. And it gets me in the right position to have conversations that are a little bit more difficult or that are a little bit more challenging.
Mm. I love hearing that, and we're getting lots of hellos in the chat. Folks saying hello to you, Leslie. I absolutely agree. I have a long, prior to working in nonprofit, I had a long career in finance, in corporate finance, and I. Learned so much early in my career from learning from folks who had a different lived experience, professional experience than myself. So I absolutely echo that. I also think those difficult conversations really lend the way to having both not just mentors, but sponsors and folks who communicate with you, communicate your value when you're not even in the room. So those folks can really help you advance. And I absolutely echo having those awkward conversations, even if it's just tweaks you need to make to your resume, or the way that you talk about your experience in an interview has to be a little sharper or a little faster. So I absolutely echo that. Going back to the piece about mentors and sponsors, I wanted to ask you, can you share someone who has been a significant coach in your life and what impact they had on your career?
Absolutely. So when I thought about this question, the first person that popped into my mind was this woman named Bertha Mitchell Smith. And I still talk to Bertha on a regular basis. And so I met her when I was at the Chicago Urban League. And that was the first time that I was managing a large group of people. So up until then, said, I managed like 2 people, but at the Urban League, my department was about 30 people. And so I had just a lot going on, and there were a lot of programs that we ran. I had to do a lot with budgeting that I wasn't as familiar with. And so I needed a lot of support. And so when I met Bertha, we had a conversation with our COO, and she asked really great questions. And I was brand new to the organization. I said, okay, this is someone that I really need to get to know. And so Bertha, what I love and appreciate most about her is that she gives you criticism in the most loving ways. So every time she tells you, and it sounds like she's kind of cussing you out, but she's doing it with a hug. And I wanted to figure out how I could master that talent of making people feel supported when you're giving them that feedback. And so Bertha has been just wonderful to me. And so she's followed me throughout my career, and I've always gone to her and asked questions. And so one of the things that she really taught me was how to work with people, and how to do discipline, how to give criticism, how to give support when needed, how to advocate for my staff. And so she's just a wonderful person that I wouldn't have been half as successful had I not met her.
Mhm. Huge shout out, sending love to Bertha. That sounds like an incredible mentor to have. Also, a really great shout out to the Urban League. They do incredible work all across the country. If you are not aware of the Urban League, check them out. They are likely in your area. And definitely tap into that incredible organization here in Chicago. They are a great partner of ASE and the work we do. We're always in conversation with them on how we can foster progress for many diverse communities. So we're getting lots like I mentioned, hellos in the chat. No questions yet. So Leslie, I wanted to ask you about your participation with Coaching Corner. So I wanted to let the folks know at home, our Coaching Corner is an initiative that I oversee here at ASE, where bi-monthly we offer folks 2 different tiers of coaching, both career coaching, mainly targeted for entry level folks who may be re-entering the workforce, folks who may be seeking a new career. Perhaps they've been working at entry level positions, they're ready to advance to a manager role, may want someone to sort of spot check or just have a conversation about an upcoming interview. And then we also have a second tier overseen by our executive coaches here at ASE for executive leaders, folks possibly entering from director to VP level, wanting to talk through more advanced things like salary negotiations, conflict resolution. So Leslie, you've been a coach with us now for 3 months as we've piloted this program. So I would love to hear how your experience has been, some of the folks that you've been able to meet the last couple of months, and what you think about the program so far.
So I absolutely love the program, hands down. And so I've had the opportunity to work with some of our more entry level folks that are looking to kind of get out of their current roles into different roles. And so one woman I met with, she was new to Chicago. And so she was trying to figure out how she could get involved and how she could start meeting people. So I was able to give her some suggestions on professional organizations that are in her industry, things that she should start considering to kind of jumpstart her career, including like volunteering, doing things like that. Because that's actually how I got started at the Urban League, was I volunteered there. And then when the job opened up at the Urban League, I applied and they hired me the same day that I applied, just because they knew me and because I had done a lot of the volunteer work. Another young woman that I was working with, she wanted to figure out how she could tweak her resume because she wanted to get out of the nonprofit work that she was doing and move over into higher level education. So I gave her a few suggestions. I talked about transferable skills and how you can kind of make a case for yourself when you're trying to get into a different industry. And as you can see from my career, I was in nonprofit and then I went to meatpacking. So there are ways that you can transition into different careers. The other thing that I did with her was she didn't have a great answer for that question, tell us about yourself. And so we're able to kind of talk through how she should approach that question without giving her whole life story, but being a little bit more succinct and talking about, her life experience and what she was trying to do and how she was so excited about the role that she was interviewing for because of the impact that that organization had on the community. So those are just some of the things that we do during the coaching corner sessions.
I love hearing that, and I love that, even 2 months out, those experiences have stayed with you, because I know, you giving back, to our coachees, also creates an impact for you, and it's part of your professional growth. And we thank you so much for being a part of that program. Our team is gonna again drop those links where you can check out. Our coaching corner is happening tomorrow. It'll be our final coaching corner for 2024. However, in very short order, we will put up all the dates for 2025 and announce them, because the program is definitely coming back. It's an initiative here at ASE we cherish, and we think it's super, super important for folks' professional growth. I believe we may have a question coming up. Perfect. Let's see, we have a question from our VP of Leadership Programs here at ASE, Lynette Correa Velez. She wants to know what and or who inspired you to become a coach?
So coaching has always been like kind of part of my background because I started teaching. And so what I want to do is help people get their next opportunity. So I think it's just something that's just a part of me. And I love having the experience and the opportunity to get to meet new people on a regular basis. And so that's, I think, what inspired me to be the coach, is because I get to meet people outside of my company, and I get to have different types of experiences, and I get to learn from other people. And the other thing is, I've had a really interesting career, and so I've been able to kind of navigate things a little bit differently, and because I've been in so many different industries and different types of organizations, that I figured that I have something to offer, and so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be a coach.
I love hearing that, and I myself am such a people person, and this digital divide keeps us away from meeting folks a lot of times. So I similarly always look for those opportunities, and also, for folks looking out, there will be plenty of opportunities for you to also give back to ASE and to the community as a coach, to be on the lookout across our networks for those opportunities as they come up in 2025. So, Leslie, as we are rounding out our conversation here, but also rounding out 2024 and heading into 2025, I wanted to ask you a final question for today, which was, what are you hopeful for, or a positive story that gives you hope as we are ending the year starting 2025?
Well, this year has certainly been interesting. And so I will say that one of the things that is giving me hope is that people are starting to really have some tough conversations. And so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to kind of be a little bit more respectful toward each other, and a little bit more open and honest, and just recognizing that we all have different perspectives, we all have different backgrounds. And I just wanted to make sure that there is always hope, and there's always things to look forward to, and really having those conversations with people who are different from us, but it's okay, because that's what makes us really great.
Mm. I love that, Leslie. That is such an incredible note to end on. Thank you so much for being here with us and for sharing your background, your insights, mostly telling us about Miss Bertha. That was my favorite part of the conversation. I wanted to shout her out again. Also, thank you so much for your time as a career coach with ASE. Make sure you all connect with Leslie on LinkedIn. Her information, her links will be right in our chat. We will also make sure that you have the links to secure your spot for Coaching Corner. Again, those are very limited, and it's the last one of the year, so make sure you grab a spot. You can always visit www.aseonline.org to check out all of our upcoming events. We have a thank you there from our marketing manager, Karina, for your unwavering partnership, Leslie, and your dedication to ASE's mission. Also, your dedication to DEI in the workplace. I want to thank you all so much for being here with us. Make it a great day. We will see you next time. Have a great one.
Take care.
Thanks, Leslie.